Samupe, Sampa Bietia, Chimafidi non Kotu, Era One Radio. Samupe, Jumpa Bietia, Chimafidi non Kotu, Era One Radio. Oh, and Yumpamchima, Asam Pamchima. Era one,
Hello. Good evening, everyone, radio listeners and viewers all over the world. It's another Saturday. Coincidentally, it's the first day of February 2025. I mean, who knew January was going to run that quickly? Already 31 days are gone, so we have started a new year. Well, tonight we're coming your way again from the Era One Radio Studios. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, also Modern Ghana Radio, and we've added TikTok to our target audience. So if you are watching from TikTok, sorry for Target, why am I mentioning Target? TikTok, you can hear us live. Well, we are still blessed to have Dr. Ernest Opoku-Agyeman, my one and only co-pilot here in the studio tonight. We've missed him for a while, you know. When duty calls, you can't do anything about it. So tonight he's been free a little bit, just for about 40 minutes to help us discuss a very important topic. Tonight we are looking at the parvo virus, as it's been called, B19. We'll look at this type of virus. Of course, there are so many viruses that are living in this world. Most of them are mutating every day to make sure they are dodging the vaccines and still posing problems to humans. The number to call in is 240-280-2633, or you can text us at 510-931-0946. We are broadcasting again live on YouTube, Facebook, and Modern Ghana Radio, as well as TikTok. All right, let me welcome my co-host, Dr. Ernest Opoku-Agyeman, to the studio. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you, Prof. Boyson. I want to say good evening to all the people, the audience that are looking at us. Please, we are going to present something that is very new, and they want people to pay attention to it so that as soon as they get anything like that, they can report to their hospitals for remedies. And I wish all of you good luck for the day, and I'm sure that we're going to enjoy this lesson. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. Again, let me put a disclaimer there that we don't diagnose problems on this program. All we do is we just give information. We have we take a topic, and both of us being PhD, degree holders, at least we have an idea of what these topics present. So we bring in the epidemiological aspect of this, the disease, the symptoms, how it's acquired, prevention, and then if you think you are experiencing any of those symptoms, then you have to make an appointment with your provider, your physician, and then go for thorough checkup. All right, let me remind you again where you are, and then we'll continue. Stay put, don't go anywhere.
Sampa Bietia, Chimafidi non Kotu, Era One Radio. Samupe, Jumpa Bietia, Chimafidi non Kotu, Era One Radio. Oh, and Yumpamchima, Asam Pamchima. Era one,
all right, on this show, we are concerned about the health of our listeners. And so on behalf of Dr. Ostus, Dr. Samuel Osetutu, we are privileged to have this broadcast and to bring this show to you at your doorstep, in your homes, wherever you are, whether you are driving and listening, wherever you are, we are coming into your home and you are also listening to us. All right, we normally start with a quick warm-up before we begin. Doc, would you say there's a kind of stress in this country right now? Because stress is also a factor that we are concerned. I mean, is the nation going through a stress? Because we know with every new king, there's a new law, and either the nation, the citizens become very excited, happily excited, or otherwise? Do you think there's some stress over this nation?
It appears so.
PSO,
Yeah.
substantiate without being too political.
You see, there are some laws right now about these immigrants, and you know that the immigrants are many in this country. As much as I'm concerned, I know of about 11 million people.
Hmm.
If 11 million people are talked about to move, it's a serious issue. Don't forget that some of them have been here with kids. The kids are in school. Some of them came here with their husband, they lost their husbands. Some of them came here with their wife, they lost their wives. Even some of the kids have lost their parents. So if you are told to leave, where are you going? So that is more stressful than any other thing.
Hmm.
So I believe this is a very stressful situation in the country.
All right, it's loud and clear. I hear you very loud and clear. All right, we'll leave it at that and we'll go into our study. Tonight, as I mentioned, we are looking at another type of virus. It's called the parvo virus. I mean, they added B19. We'll be looking at that. But then, all I'm going to say is I'm going to just, as I said earlier on, we are not providing diagnosis here. We are just giving you information. And if you think you fall in that category, you just go to see your provider and take it from there. So, let me have a quick overview. I just glanced some information from Google and I just want to share it before Dr. Okukwajima comes in. So the human parvovirus B19 is generally referred to as B19 virus. This virus is sometimes also called erythrovirus B19 and is known human virus in the family Parvoviridae. It comes with the genus Erythroparvovirus. And this, if you're looking at it under the microscope, it measures only 23 to 26 nanometer in diameter, very, very tiny. And this virus is below species classification, as I said, is erythroparvovirus. And it belongs to the family Parvoviridae. The class is Quintovarocetes and the kingdom Shotokovara. Well, you don't need all this information anyway, but I'm just giving it to those of you who are highly research students and you want to do all that. All right, so let's look at just a little bit of morbidity and mortality before Doc comes in. It's a seasonal occurrence. It's most prevalent in late winter and early spring. When you talk about the outbreaks, it occurs every 3 to 4 years, and the transmission is via highly contagious and can spread easily in schools and households. So you're looking at children going to school who can easily infect each other. That is why in some of the schools here, if your child is infected and they don't come to school, before they do come, they ask for a doctor's report. Has the child actually gone through the phases that's now well healed to come to school? So it's very important. We'll look at the sources and then we'll look at other symptoms, other information. But I want Doc to come in quickly and then for him to give us his description and what he has to give us. Doc, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyson.
You're welcome.
I think you have already given me the basics of this virus. As far as CDC is concerned, this virus is somehow endemic in the system because it's really cyclical, as it has been said by you. The time that it comes, you have already notified us, and the disease is more or less has no respecter of age. It can affect adult and can affect children. There is something that is very peculiar with this. It can also affect pregnant women. But when it affects pregnant women who are beginning their pregnancy, there is the tendency that the person can abort the pregnancy, which tells us that it might be sometimes very serious in certain stages. The disease, as it is, have impact on two extremities. Those who have a good immunity may not have a severe infection. On the other hand, those whose immunity is very low, when it infects them, it's very severe. And it's more particularly about case in people who have blood diseases like sickle cell and other things. According to CDC, the disease can be protected, and the spread can also be reduced if we go by the rules as given by the CDC. So we look at it from the perspective of the old people, then come to the pregnant women, and then we're coming to the school children. As already indicated, transmission is by air. The incubation period varies, but it ranges from 3 days to 21 days. In most cases, the average is 7 days, but the extension is between 7 and 14 days. However, during the time of the rashes, or before the rashes appears, transmission is very fast. Therefore, if you have any of the symptoms, you have to either wear mask to protect yourself from spreading into the air, or you have to stay alone until 21 days expires, so that your infectivity will become low. So let's stop here and let me see what Dr. Boyson will have for us. So I'll continue from there.
Okay, well, I'll just let me see. You already touched on most of the information here. So I think you already mentioned some of the symptoms like rash, joint pain, fever, headache, cough, and sore throat. And there could also be some complications of this disease, severe anemia. You mentioned severe pregnancy loss. The infection can also cause that. All right, and something like, okay, so now I feel like I have the disease. I've seen the symptoms. How do I get diagnosed? Probably through blood tests. I mean, there's a blood test that you can do when you go to see your doctor. They will draw some blood from you, take it to the lab, and then the lab technologists, they're going to look for antibodies. They look for antibodies to this paravirus. If there's antibodies, which means there's an infection, because you never get any antibodies until there's an antigen in the presence of your blood for which the antibodies will be produced. So once they detect antibodies in your body, then they suspect that this disease is there. Or there's something they call the nucleic acid testing. That's a higher form of testing that they do. It's a PCR testing that these tests can do to detect that if you have that disease. I'll be looking at some aspect of management, but to go back to what Doc said with the transmission, you can get it through coughs, sneezes, through an infected person. So you realize that when it comes to body fluids, it's all about getting to contact. Contact has a lot. Some are just aerosol. Somebody breathes out and it kind of pollutes the air around you in the immediate vicinity. You also want to taste fresh air. You breathe it in, and that's the source of getting it. And it spreads from person to person, just like a cold, often through breathing, coughing, and saliva. So those of you who are kissing too, you have to be very cautious about that. You want to make sure your partner is always keeping healthy, brushing your teeth every morning, every evening, and in between. If you have a Listerine or some kind of protection, just swish your mouth. Make sure you and these organisms are not friends. So coughing and saliva can also spread that, and then contact people hand to hand can even when you are shaking people, you realize that people have sanitizers with them. After shaking too many people, you just want to squeeze some sanitizer in your hand and make sure you are not taking all these organisms into your systems. And yeah, of course, we mentioned the symptoms already and complications. We already mentioned that. And then maybe management and treatment. But before we go to that, I'm sure Doc wants to. Do you want to add something to that before we come to that? Because we want to make sure we are addressing the elementary aspect of it before we go to the complexities.
Okay, let me just add a few to it. When we talked about the signs and symptoms, as you mentioned, we talked about a feverish, we talked about a headache, and then you spoke about a cough. But there's something very unusual about the sore throat. They say that according to CDC, sore throat is one of the significant cause or signs of the signs of the disease. Sorry, and then the rash. The rash has a kind of distribution, and the color of it can help you to differentiate it from other rashes that is on the skin. And the last one, as we mentioned, is about the joint pain, which actually diminishes when you are getting very well. But let's look at it. In some of the cases, they demonstrate loss of appetite. And again, they become very lethargic. Looking at that, when they get loss of appetite, very lethargic, some of them may also vomit, and then others may also develop diarrhea with some strains of blood in it. That can help you to differentiate between the other viruses that are causing this kind of what do you call it, feverish diseases. So that is one of the differentiations that we can make over here. Until that, I will leave it for you to continue from there so that we continue with the other things that we have to say.
All right, thanks. So let's look at the management and maybe the treatment. The management and the treatment. How do you get rid of the parvovirus? Okay, unfortunately, you were able to contract it. We not say it's something that is good for you to contract, but then unfortunately, either you got infected through an aerosol or through body contact or through saliva, coughing, or whatever it is. So you had it. So how do you get rid of it? But according to research, there aren't any treatments for this disease, but usually it goes away on its own without any further complications. And there are some instances that research says that you may need a blood transfusion in case you develop anemia or if you are pregnant and the fetus develops what we call hydrops fetalis. In this case, your doctor or your provider will sometimes use intravenous immunoglobulin or IVIG treatment to help you fight off this infection. So, in a nutshell, unfortunately, you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to get it, but unfortunately, when you do, there are some things you can do to prevent escalation of the problem because you can get it and you can have a treatment for it and make sure it's not intensifying or increasing to the point of infecting other people. So you have to look for other means. I'll put in quickly the prevention. I mean, there are tips that you can use to prevent this thing from coming. Of course, hand washing, you can never go wrong with hand washing. Hand washing is the primary thing you can do to avoid or prevent any infection. When COVID came, the phrase they used everywhere, every time was wash your hands. Everywhere you go, wash your hands. You ride in the Uber, you are not the only person that rode in the Uber. There are other passengers that came in. You've been touching the seat, touching the handle. If you don't have what is sanitizer with you, as soon as you get up, look for some source, wash your hands, wash it thoroughly. And even in the hand washing, there is a way of the mechanism. You don't just put your hand under the sink and then you are gone. You have to wash it with soap. Make sure you are going in between your hand digits and the crevices. You are doing that effectively. And then you're also avoiding close contact with people who might have been infected. I mean, if you see anybody with symptoms, okay, you live with somebody who doesn't cough that often. All of a sudden, the person is coughing or displaying some of these symptoms that you mentioned. Stay away. I mean, we are not saying that shun the person away, but then make sure you are at a distance from the perimeter of the person coughing or doing anything. You don't want two people in the house getting sick, and who is going to provide care for each other? And then one thing that sometimes I'm walking through the street or somewhere, people are yawning, coughing, and they don't even care to close their mouth. I mean, we all know that when you are coughing or something, I mean, they show us sneezing or whatever, put your elbow, not even sneezing or coughing your hand. They have the universal sign of where you cough into your elbow. Make sure you're not. We have to practice those. Don't People are yawning in the street and they open their mouth 360. You can see every part of their mouth inside out, and they don't care. Do not let people see the contents of your mouth. If you are yawning, they have a way of doing it. At least cover your mouth when you are yawning or something. Don't spread the organism. I mean, if you don't want to protect yourself, please protect others. Make sure you are covering your mouth when you are sneezing or coughing. And then avoid touching your nose, mouth, and eyes. These things are all points of contact. I mean, you might not, right now I'm in the studio. Okay, if my nose itches me, I whatever I do here is limited to the studio. I'm not infecting anybody. When I get up, I'll go wash my hand. But if you are in public, whether you are in the airport, train station, whatever, avoid touching certain parts of your body that, I mean, and we naturally are people who either we want to hug or we want to shake people. I mean, with Africans, our way of maybe showing some affection or socialization is to you meet somebody instantly, you want to shake their hands, you want to hug them. Yeah, it's good thing that it's culture. We can't stop doing it. But how you going to shake somebody? Have you coughed inside your hand? Have you sneezed? I mean, sometimes you can even sense phlegm in people's hands, and it will be rude for you to say, "Hey, I don't want to shake you." But let's make life easy for all of us. If you are going to be shaking people or doing something, avoid touching certain parts of your body that exudes fluid or liquid that is going to be a source of infection to other person. And then for our kids too, if you realize your children are infected or they are sick, please do not send them to go to school and infect other people. If it is possible, let them stay home, finish whatever duration the organism is lasting, see their doctor, make sure they are properly treated before they go back to school. All right. I don't know whether, Doc, you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I have a few to add to what you just said. We should not forgotten that until the rashes appear, the disease is very contagious, meaning that it can highly infect people. And we are told, as I think Prof was just saying now, that the disease has no cure. So the CDC, according to their publication, they are monitoring it. So these are some of the precautions, in addition to what Prof have just said, that we have to be very careful with it. We have to know that it has no treatment. It comes, takes its own cycle, and go away. By following the few exercise that Prof has just told you, you have to follow the general respiratory precautions, respiratory disease precautions. You have to follow them strictly. And then the third one is if you have anything that is beyond your control, just see your provider. Your provider will be the only first contact after you've seen that there is anything that is causing harm to you. Now, let's go back to see how this disease is spread. We are told, I think my colleague Dr. Boyson just mentioned that it's respiratory disease. Yes, it's respiratory disease. That means that the viruses go through the particles of our sneezing and our coughing and sometimes even our talking, because when we talk, we sometimes discharge some kind of saliva from our mouth, which the mouth, the throat are working together. So we can also carry that into our mouths to others. And then for the pregnant women, if you are tested, please make sure that you constantly visit your physicians to make sure that you are okay with your pregnancy. This virus is a virus that actually affects people when they are in a group. We have been told about by Prof just now. Whilst you are infected, please don't go to the population. Don't go and spread the disease to the population, particularly as he mentioned in schools. In a class where one person goes there after sneezing without good precaution, is going to infect the whole children in the womb, and the child can also carry it to the house, and the whole house will be infected. And if the household is infected, anywhere that the household go to work, they also carry it there, so that the disease will be spreading all over the places. So when one person has the place, let that person see his physician for them to control it so that the disease will not spread to other people. Besides that, I would say that if you go by the precaution, everything will be okay for all of us. But if you refuse, then it's going to be a problem for us. So, Prof, let's go ahead and see what we can do about other things that you have to say.
Okay, all right. I think we don't have too much time left because Prof has another engagement. So I will just end with this, and then Prof will come with a closing remark so he can leave for his other appointment. I just want to mention this: that how does the virus go away? Does it go on its own? I think I did mention earlier on that usually goes away on its own in a week or two, but maybe you might have some complication. The rash can sometimes start to go away, but then it could come back. So you want to make sure coming and going for a few weeks. Joint pain sometimes this may last for a few months, so you want to make sure you are not just staying home but then reporting it to your provider, and your provider should be able to or might be able to recommend some OTC, over the counter pain relievers for you. I mean, it could be flus, it could be plenty of rest to help you feel better. I mean, if you're not feeling well, please stay away from work or wherever you had to go. And then the other question is, when do I see my doctor or provider when I have such symptoms of the disease? Well, of course, talk to your provider about what you're experiencing. They will be able to tell you whether it is COVID, whether it is regular flu, or just the parvovirus. And if you are pregnant, you have any issues. Normally, when you are pregnant, your immune system kind of get a little bit compromised. So if you are experiencing any of this, please do not wait. And then the other issues, one may ask, when do I go to emergency service or the ER? Well, if you're experiencing any fainting or weakness, if you have especially chest pain, if you have difficulty breathing, please don't hesitate. If you have bluish or grayish skin, your lips or nails experience cyanosis, bluish conditions, if you have heart palpitation, which you normally do not experience, any change in your health status, you never experienced this a week or last week or 3 days earlier, and you start feeling all these things, please do not waste time, because time wasting is essential. I mean, it's crucial. You might just harm yourself. Well, if you feel like there's any impending doom on you, you feel like, oh, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, please don't hesitate. Rush to the your ER or your provider. It's better for you to go and be seen than just wait and have any serious issue. It's just like a woman who is pregnant. You might say, oh, I feel like the baby is coming. I'm rushing to the hospital. You go only for them to tell you, oh, your dilation is 1 or something, so it's still not time. Go home. They still, if they feel something uneasy, they want to rush and go. And so the same thing. If your body is changing and you are experiencing some of these things, do not hesitate. Rush and go get seen. It's better to be told, oh, there's no alarm, than stay home and die because you think it's not as simple. All right, Doc, you can wrap it up so you can move on to your appointment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Today we talked about parvovirus. Parvovirus, according to CDC, it emerges twice in the year, maybe beginning from winter till somewhere the early part of summer. So any kind of flu-like symptom that you found, which is not flu, you should contact your CGC. But historically, we are told that parvovirus is a type of infection that goes among animals, particularly dogs. So, I mean, I am assuming that there are certain things that we have to look into further to make sure that we know how human beings were infected. Nonetheless, if you are infected, remember that there's no treatment for it, as Prof have just said. So you have to follow all the precautions that have been given by Prof earlier in this discussion, and make sure that you don't infect others by protecting yourself. So parvovirus is not a killer, but really can also cause complications that might probably open the way for another infection coming and then cause another trouble to you. So before we end, we want to tell all of you that if you have a place, don't waste time, go to emergency or see your PCP for further treatment. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. On behalf of our studio manager, Dr. Setutu, and the Erawan team, want to thank you for spending, I think, about what, 40 minutes, actually 30
Yes.
minutes, because we had a little bit of glitches we had to fix. So we've now moved on to a new platform. So we are still uh, uh,
Getting things
navigating,
done.
yes, navigating our way through. So make sure we get our platform where it's situated and we know everything, every operation of this platform. So pardon us. But again, you can still go to YouTube, can go to Facebook. We are on TikTok, and you can pull this clip and share. I mean, this is free health advice. Again, the disclaimer is that we are not medical doctors diagnosing problems here. We, by our training and education, have the knowledge in epidemiology that we want to share. After all, we paid our school tuition and whatever to go to school, but we don't want to be selfish and keep the knowledge, because the more you share and teach, the more it makes you go and learn more. So that's the essence of this thing. So on the ring of Era One Radio, this is the head department, and thanks to my co-host, Dr. Nesopoko Ajuma, for availing himself tonight. Thank you very much. And on that note, we say good night, have a good evening. Do not stress. We are all going through a stressful situation in this country, but don't stress. Just I did a presentation last week about respond. How do you respond to change? You've all gone through change, whether you like it or not. We are going to go through the cycle. So now psych your mind. Whatever is coming to that you can't appreciate. Don't mess up your health. Don't let the situation hamper your health. So change your attitude towards what you see or hear. If too much news is going to bother you, minimize how many hours of news you watch every day. Just get the headlines and just move on. Don't stifle yourself with what is going to give you palpitations or problems. Stay healthy, because, as somebody said, you have only one body. And when this body is messed up and gone, you are done. So thank you
And
very much.
and then, Prof, everybody should concentrate on the work that he's doing and do it well. So it is through that work that will give you food and everything to eat. So please concentrate on your work. Make yourself available at the work. Think positive about yourself, and you'll be happy by yourself too.
Thank you. Well, the pastor has said it. I did not add anything. Thank you very much, Doc. Well, God willing, we'll meet again next week. Have a good evening. And remember, you have the choice and you have the power to live well and to ride your destiny. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
C'est mon père, ça me fait bien tiens. Tu me fais dire non kotu, Era One Radio. C'est mon père, tu me fais bien tiens. Tu me fais dire non kotu, Era One Radio. Oh, and you pam chuma, asam pam chuma. Era One, Yebo Numpamkua.
They are four women. They are beautiful with brains. They are eloquent, decent, wise, and experienced. You have heard many, the funny. Now, it's time to hear the experience and the brainy. Meet Selena, Dorcas, Gifty, and Annette as they present the real in common getting. In common BISS chain, a dead, as in Takrenu assume the dead, the real in common getting. Showing live this and every Sunday, 7 p.m. on Era One Radio on Facebook and on YouTube, Era One Radio and on Taibo channel. Kaise, so we see the real in common getting ya. What brabon tete, we nyan konsa, we the real in common getting.
Oh,
Everyone on the ark now! I'm going home.